It's the time of the year where everyone covers their top decks of 2019, so I decided I would join in. Hi everyone, I'm Casper the Boy Diviner here today, and I'm going to cover with you my top 5 decks of 2019. If you enjoy this content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. That would really help me out. Click the bell icon for notifications. I have 5 top tarot decks and 1 honorable mention for this year. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the Astor IV Totoro. I think this shouldn't be a stranger to anyone. This has been on the market for quite a while. What I like about this deck is it's a really good deck for reading for others. I mean, I don't use this deck for myself. I use this deck mainly to read for others, and it's a good reading deck because I feel like the images are so delightful and yet they still go deep. You know, they're not just simple pretty images that don't strike hard, because some of the cards do strike pretty hard. Another reason why I really like this deck is that the court cards, can you see? The King of Wands, for example. All the court cards are really accessible in this deck. Really accessible. They really look like people that you can get to know versus the standard RWS where people are kind of standing away. Some of the other decks I have right in front of me also have court cards that are not easily accessible. This deck has the most accessible court cards that I've ever seen. That's why I really like this deck. Also, the card stock is really good. It is not super thick. It is thin enough to riffle shuffle. So when I'm doing readings for other people, I don't feel like I ever trip up. I don't drop cards all over the place, you know. And it's not embarrassing to shuffle, I guess, you know, when you screw up. And also the gilding. So mine is pretty worn. I don't know if you can see that. Mine is pretty worn just because I use it a lot. But I kind of feel like that adds to the charm of my deck. Honestly, I didn't notice how worn it was until I made this video on my poor deck. But, you know, gilding shouldn't last forever. So, you know, no big deal. Yeah, and the mages here are also very accessible. So if anyone wants a accessible deck that is like anime-ish inspired, think about this deck, okay? It's really cool. For example, look at Judgment. So interesting. There is no... So this took me some time to also really get the Judgment card. How do I draw this with the standard Judgment card? And I realized the other Judgment cards all have an angel. I'm kind of trumpeting to them, telling them to come up from their coffins. This lady found her own way out. You know, she's peeking out. She's awakening. And this is not a sudden awakening. It's more of a, you know, a gradual self-awakening. So I really like that, this version of the Judgment card. This is why I like this version of the Judgment card. Okay, I'm gonna find one more. So if you look at the Devil card, this is the only card that I don't really super jive with. I guess, you know, we could read it as, you know, the Lucifer kind of handsome man, devil kind of appeal, maybe. But I don't know. Is it talking about toxic masculinity or... Yeah, or how the devil is a mystery, because this card is a mystery to me. I don't know. This is the only card that sometimes when I look at it, I don't know how to read it for myself. But it's a great deck to read for other people. So if you are looking for a deck that could enrich your reading practice with other people, you know, really consider this deck. Okay, again, this is the Astor IV Totoro deck by Stasha Burrington. Okay, let's talk about my next top deck in 2019. It is the True Black Torro. I don't think this will be any much of a surprise. The only downside is that I got the first edition that has the wrong spelling. The Hierophant is spelled wrong. And even though people say, you know, oh, it's fine because it's just one card, it doesn't affect the deck too much. And I agree, that's why I bought the deck. I only realized that the second edition is smoother to shuffle. And I have a feeling it's because while it's beautiful, I love this. This is spot gloss, so it shimmers in light. I think this spot gloss makes it really hard to shuffle. And the deck itself, the card stock is thick. So it really helps with durability. And this is also etched by the creator, by himself. The next new edition, I think they use transparent foil, and that makes it easier to shuffle. And that's why I kind of regret not waiting for that one. But I couldn't help because this deck is so gorgeous. I think I did a review of this deck, so you can check it out. But I don't know what else to say apart from how gorgeous this deck is. So when I talked about inaccessible court cards, these ones are okay. And the death card, one of my favorite cards, because in the background it's a paragraph from the Tao Te Ching, which should be my part of my heritage, but I haven't read that book yet. I bought it, but the English translation somewhere, but I haven't gotten to read it. How beautiful are these images? And the book that comes with this deck is fantastic. Okay, so when I feel like I want to have an aesthetic feed, when I feel like I needed something to spruce up my Instagram feed, this is the one I go to. It is a great deck for that kind of use. And I pair it with a tarot cloth that is from the Marigold Tarot. I know it doesn't really make much sense because it has skulls and stuff, but that's how I use it. Okay. The minors themselves are beautiful too, of course. I think I spoke more about this in the review about how sometimes I get confused between, I think, the wands and the swords, just because the wands are all feathers, but wands and feathers make me think of air, but wands are fire, so sometimes that trips me up. The only reason why I don't really use this deck as much as I would like is just because the difficulty in shuffling. Like, legit, I don't find it easy to shuffle. Although now doing it like this in a smaller pile, because I removed some, yeah, I just hope I get more used to shuffling with this deck and start using it again. The next thing I want to talk about is the Stella Tyrell. Why this deck is kind of special to me is because, number one, I didn't expect Stella herself to sign the box. Secondly, this deck was ordered for me by a dear friend of mine, my best tarot friend in Singapore, Valerie. I think you can check out her channel at the Slightly Chipped Moon. Yeah, so it's kind of special because it's the first time someone asked me, do you want to share shipping for tarot, and just help me order it, without problems. Not only that, I feel like I didn't expect the images to call out to me so much. Look at this fortune card. Look at that lady with her face. This deck delights me in a strange way, and I don't know why. I like the borders even, and I like how it's a hybrid of the Thoth deck and also the Rider-Waite-Smith. It is a great combination, and I think I talked about it in one of my videos. It adheres to the court cards in the Thoth. For example, the Prince, Princess, and then the Knights again. So it's the Thoth court cards. At the same time, you don't see any astrological correspondences to their minors. She doesn't include those. And then when you see this image, this is practically the RWS image. So there are a lot of callbacks like this. She also incorporates the Thoth imagery. Can you see this in the Six of Swords? This is how the Thoth draws the Six of Swords as well. I really feel like this deck can really use a deep dive, which I have not done so, but I should, because I really enjoy this deck and I wish I used it more. I wish I used every deck more. Why I keep saying this also is because I've been taking quite a long break from tarot ever since I started drawing cards that kind of, tell me bad things, and I try having a conversation trying to change things, but bad things still happen, so I've been taking a small break. At the same time, this deck doesn't have gilding, which is I don't really feel like gilding is necessary all the time. I like the cardstock. It is stiff and yet easy to shuffle. I love the size. The size is just nice for my hands. So this is like the closest to, I guess, perfect cardstock and size for me. Yeah, I should really start using my Stella Tyrell more. I miss it. The next deck I wanted to talk about is no surprise to anyone. Okay, no, this was a small surprise to me. I bought this deck because of FOMO. Honestly, I know Benabel Wen said don't feel that FOMO. Don't feel FOMO to buy this deck even though it's kind of limited. But I'm such a fan of hers, and even though I didn't enjoy looking at the images in the first edition, something about the second edition made me feel like this is the right time, you know? The first one didn't call out to me like this one. So I decided to get it, and I was so surprised by how connected I feel to these cards. Okay, I was very intimidated at first. I didn't dare to use it as much. And some of the gilding came off clean off when I received it. So a combination of that just made me feel a bit strange about the deck. Plus my deck has the most like mundane name I've seen. It's not some fanciful language. It's just memory. That's my deck's name. Abell named every deck. Let me show you. Memory. But I have come to enjoy and appreciate this. I feel like it's just a reminder that every time I try to dig deeper into the esoteric, trying to learn more and more, sometimes you don't have to dig so deep, you know, take things at a lighter perspective, and memory just reminds me of that. And the card stock of this is impeccable, really. It feels so good to shuffle. I don't know what this card stock is called. I have no idea what it is, but it is stiff but thin. I don't know. I have no idea. And it's matte, so it's great for photography. So you're gonna send your customers, but I don't use this for other people, okay? So I only use this for myself. I have not finished the rituals, the coloring rituals to do with it. So it comes with a coloring ritual, and I think I have some videos on how I did that and how I've been doing that. I'm only done with 2 septenaries, so I still have all the rest of the majors to go and then the minors. But I'm excited to continue because I really forced myself to I really pushed myself to do it. And reading the book of maps, I think, would definitely help me with connecting with this deck. The sole purpose of this deck, one of the biggest reasons for getting this deck is really to connect with your holy guardian angel, or your Fravashi, or your holy demon, whatever you want to call your, you know, guardian spirit, your guide. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that because coloring ritual is supposed to help me connect better. And after the first 2 septenaries, I don't know if there's a difference yet. I have not used this deck as much. I used this deck yesterday, and I got a reading about how I'm purposefully turning away from divination and speaking with spirits, my allies and things like that, just because I need a break. But it might be time to wake up and stop ignoring the signs. Okay, so I might start working with the tarot again. I thought 2020, when it started, would be a good time to start, but maybe I should be starting now. Everything is telling me now instead of, you know, waiting. Okay, the last deck I want to talk about is the Mary L. Torro, 2nd edition. And this was a surprise to me also because I had a bad experience with the first one they sent. It came a little damaged. Some of the cards were really sticky together, you know. And then they sent me this second one, and the gilding was also sticky, but wow, this deck is fascinating. I've not used it enough, clearly. I have not seen this card, but what a beautiful deck, really, really. And so full of symbolism and totally different from any kind of tarot tradition I've studied. This is the first deck which I want to actually get the 9 of Swords. This is also the deck that made me realize, along with the Stella Tyrell, that I think even though aesthetically I prefer simple pastel colors or black and white decks, this deck made me realize the power of color and made me realize how much I rely on color to do my intuitive readings. I used this deck for my year ahead reading, which, you know, I didn't really expect doing, but yeah, I don't know what to say except for how beautiful this deck is, how great it is for reading. I really feel like this deck would be good for a lot of introspection, shadow work. I don't do shadow work much, but this would be a great deck for that. And the book that comes with it, I think it's worth reading. It is good, but it's glossy, so I don't know how... I think I talked about this in my weekly deck work when I use this deck, so you can watch that for more details on this deck. Okay, so my honorable mention is the Wayward Dark Torro. I like this deck. I have not used it enough to really dig deep, and I'm not great with the Thoth, but again, I did a walkthrough, and I really enjoy the imagery. I'm just disappointed by how glossy the deck is, but still beautiful. You can really see how the other world exists, and I feel like my tastes have slowly morphed to loving decks that are about figures, or like, you know, you can summon this spirit, you can summon that spirit, in a way summon, but or talk to them. So for the SKT, she talks about every single card being a spirit, and that made me feel like, you know, that could apply to some other Torro decks and then not others. If you've seen the decks I've shown today, I feel like all of them have that kind of singular spirit, maybe except for the True Black and Marielle, because Marielle does have some very plain cards that just scenery. But the Stella Tyrell, the SKT, this deck, definitely you can see that each card has its own kind of spirit. Chthonic, is that how you pronounce it? Chthonic? This one is very chthonic, very hellish. Yeah. I just haven't used it enough, so I haven't put it in my top. But I undoubtedly I feel like this deck is worth a mention. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of my top 5 tarot decks plus 1 honorable mention. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. That will help me out. Okay, comment, let me know what your top decks are. If you don't have a tarot YouTube channel, if you have, feel free to comment, let me know that you have created a video like that, and I would love to watch it. I would love to see, you know, whether we have any similarities. If we don't, you know, that is super interesting to me, and I always love adding new decks to my wish list, which is still growing. I just need to wait for my budget and my wallet to grow as well, and then I can really expand my collection. Okay, you guys have a great rest of the day. You take care. Bye.